When I walk through the forests and village edges in this region, I find many plants that are growing quietly, without any attention, without anyone planting them, watering them, or taking care of them. This plant right here is one of them. This entire row that you see here, it is a native plant called wild rhea. It grows on its own, no effort, no planning, and yet it plays a very important role in this landscape. This plant grows naturally across the lower and middle Himalayan ranges, and it's very much at home in this state. You'll usually find it along forest edges, shaded slopes, near seasonal streams, and in moist ravines, places where water moves, soil is loose, and erosion could easily happen. All the scenes that you see here, this entire row is self-seeded wild rhea shrub. Nobody plants it here, nobody manages it. It shows up exactly where the land needs holding, like at the top of this stone retaining wall. This alone tells us something important. This plant understands this place better than we do. Like most of the trees in this region, being a native plant, this wild rhea is an evergreen shrub or a small tree, usually growing 2 to 6 meters tall. It belongs to the nettle family, except it isn't really stingy. Its leaves are large, soft, and slightly velvety. The underside is lighter, sometimes almost pale, which helps the plant manage moisture and sunlight in shaded forests, especially as this entire region is a naturally growing conifer forest. In certain seasons, you'll see small, bright orange or sometimes red berries. These berries are edible to humans and very sweet to taste. In fact, their taste is similar to strawberries. For wildlife, these berries are even more important. When they appear, birds, small mammals, and insects rely on them as food source, helping spread seeds deeper into the forest. But this plant is not about display, it's about function. We talk about permaculture in simple terms. It's really about choosing plants that do many jobs at once, and wild rhea does exactly that. Its root system grips steep slopes and fragile soil, especially during heavy monsoon rains. Where this plant grows, landslides and soil loss are noticeably reduced. It has a very wide canopy, under which the ground stays cool and moist. Leaves fall, break down slowly, and build soil year after year. Because it grows thick and bushy, so local folks here have traditionally allowed it to grow along boundaries and edges of their land, not as a sharp fence, but as a living barrier that marks space, slows movement, and protects land. It can be grown and modified to act as a living fence. It also creates safe, shaded corridors for birds, insects, squirrels, rats, frogs, and small forest animals like pheasants, etc., to move through. This is how biodiversity increases, not just by planting more, but by leaving the right plants alone. This is a castor oil plant here. We often find these around here just popping up out of nowhere because birds and water spread these seeds easily. And it is actually a pioneer species here. It stabilizes the soil and it prepares the ground for other plants. Now this is something very special. It's January, peak winter season, Most people think winter is a dead time for insects, but look at this wild tree. It's completely covered with black caterpillars, hundreds if not thousands of them, feeding, growing, surviving when almost nothing else is available. Soon these caterpillars will turn into butterflies. This tells us something very important. Wild rhea is a host plant. It's a winter food source. It's a lifeline during the hardest season. Without plants like this, entire insect cycles would simply collapse. This is what real biodiversity looks like. Not something planted for beauty, not something managed, just native plants quietly supporting life year after year. This is exactly why native plants and native trees are so important to the land, because they belong here and everything else has evolved around them. Wild tree supports soil organisms underground, insects on its leaves, birds above it, and moisture around it. It also gives stability to the forest edge where wild spaces and human spaces meet, reducing pressure on deeper forest areas. That's not accidental, that's evolution and places working together. Wild rhea has always been useful to people here. The inner bark of this tree it gives a very strong natural fiber, traditionally used for making ropes, twine, tying loads, fishing nets, sacks, farm work, or even for certain construction needs in traditional wooden houses in villages. Because it coppices well, it could be cut and used without killing the plant. This is a local, renewable material grown by the forest itself. Even the wood is not wasted. Older stems and branches are used as firewood or fuel, especially in rural households. Its leaves are also edible to cattle. It actually helps the cows in milk production, especially lactating cows. In fact, it is considered a high quality fodder in this Himalayan region and it is highly rated as palatable and nutritious feed. So farmers encourage the growth of this plant through coppicing and they prefer its growing around their lands. Absolutely free wild food. Can you spot all the tiny red berries popping up on the stem? These plants also provide a very good nesting space to birds where they can make their nests on its stem, and these berries provide food for them all throughout the year. See, the canopy of this wild tree plant must have been around 10 to 15 feet wide, and this growth is only after one winter season because I know last autumn it was coppiced. So it has grown so much only within few months. This thick tree that you see in the background, this is jacaranda tree. It has a very wide canopy, almost 70 to 80 feet wide, and it grows purple, bright, bell-shaped, medium-sized flowers in the summers. It's so stunning in summers, absolutely beautiful. And over here, all this growth that you see underneath the tree, this is all wild shea. This plant, it propagates a lot if left to its own resources. It keeps on spreading wider and wider and it starts growing multiple thin trunks, kinda like the bamboo tree. And look, I spotted 2 more castor oil plants here, just growing out in the wild. And here you are seeing another important side of this plant. This wild Shreya has been coppiced, cut earlier. And look at it now. It's alive, it's re-sprouting, it's coming back strong. This plant understands disturbance. It teaches us something important, that sustainable use is possible when plants are chosen wisely and treated with respect. As we think about forests, farming, and the future of the Himalayas, maybe the answers aren't always in new systems or new ideas. Sometimes they are already growing quietly around us. This is the kind of plant that reminds us that working with the land often begins by noticing what is already growing well on its own. These wild plants that you see here, these are wild Tridex daisy and marigold and violet lindornia. And of course, sheep sorrels everywhere in between. Sheep sorrel grows here all around. It's kind of like a grass here. Instead of wheat, we have sheep sorrel growing everywhere. It's actually a very healthy plant. It's not only edible to both humans and wildlife, but it also helps restore the fertility of the soil, especially for the rocky and mountainous terrain of this area. Can you spot the orange nasturtiums in the background? These are all growing on their own. Nobody has planted them. They got self-seeded and now they are growing here. Honestly, sometimes I think to myself that I'm so fortunate that this place is full of such a wide variety of biodiversity. And I'm not only native to this state, but I'm also getting to live here. How lucky is that? This is sheep sorrel and morning glory flower. Both of these are native plants and I've done dedicated videos on both of these. If you want, you can check out my videos. Morning glory is very beneficial for attracting pollinators earlier in the day. My hope is that if you have a plant like this wild Shreya growing around your land or your home, maybe this video helps you see it a little differently, not as a wild plant to remove, but as one worth recognizing, protecting, and even encouraging. If you are interested in more similar content about the native plants in this area, you can visit my playlist Learning from the Wild. So until next time, keep on planting. Take care.